Live from the Lisner Auditorium on the campus of the George Washington University, it's O'Reilly versus Steward. The Rumble in the air-conditioned auditorium. And now, please welcome your moderator for this evening, Edie Hill.
Thank you. Thank you. Welcome to the Rumble in the air-conditioned auditorium. I'm going to give you the rules tonight. They are pretty simple. We're going to split the first hour into about 5 12-minute segments, and at the start of each segment, I'll ask a question. The gentlemen then have 2 minutes each to respond. After that, they can take on each other. I can ask follow-up questions. The next thing we'll do is go to you, the audience, both here in the auditorium and on the internet. That will be our lightning round, and we will take the questions that you've given us and pose them to the gentlemen. Now, the specific topics have been agreed to by both Mr. O'Reilly and Mr. Stewart, but they have not seen the questions. They have not approved the questions. And for those of you watching on the internet, the audience here has been told to please keep their cheering and perhaps their laughter to a minimum, to be respectful. At least they will try to. Now, it is my privilege to introduce tonight's Rumblers. First, you know him from the O'Reilly Factor and is the author of numerous books on the killing of presidents. From Levittown, New York, standing a gargantuan 6 feet 4 inches tall, Bill OReilly. And from The Daily Show with Jon Stewart, the winner of an obnoxious amount of Emmys. He's from somewhere in New Jersey. He is standing a hobbit-like 5 foot 7 inches tall, Mr. Jon Stewart. I think they're ready. Rather than flip a coin, Mr. O'Reilly decided he goes first. Okay. Many pundits, and you know who you are, say that this is the most important election in a generation. Republicans say that voters should ask themselves, are you better off now than you were 4 years ago? Now, President Obama can point to a declining unemployment rate. Mr. Romney claims that the Obama policies created the most sluggish recovery in history, and if continued, will make it even worse. So, Bill, do you think people will make their choice based on the economy?
I don't care. First of all, how's the air conditioning in here? Is all right? Everybody comfortable? Everybody? If you want it turned up a little, just tell Stewart, we'll take care of it. All right? Now, I'm going to have a little 3-minute opening, and then he'll mock it, okay? Remember a few weeks ago that the tape broke where Governor Romney was saying that 47% of Americans are slackers, all right? They're not cutting it, as Clint Eastwood would say, they're not cutting it, all right? Well, he was off by about 27%, about 27. About 20% of us are slackers, and it's a growing industry. And that is what the election's all about. That's what the country's facing right now. We are spending an enormous amount of money on 20% who, for whatever reason, we're just not going to cut it. We're not going to make a living. We're not going to really do anything. We want our stuff. And we're spending a lot of money. Debt is bad. Debt is bad. All right? $16 trillion in debt. President Obama, who I like, by the way, and who is dodging me on a one-on-one basketball game. Did you know that? Yeah. Dodging it. I like him. Biggest spending president by far in the history of the United States. In fact, President Obama has spent more money than all of the other presidents combined if you take out World War II, which we had to spend a little money there, okay? All of them. So Martin Van Buren is going, why? Why? Now, the reason that the president will tell you he's spending a lot of money is because of Bush. It's Bush's fault. How many people think it's Bush's fault? Bush is gone. Adios, sayonara, aloha. It's boring. He's gone. Okay? Out of there. It may have been Bush's fault for the first year, maybe 2, but not 3.5. Now, and this is the final part of my opening statement, the poster person for the entitlement society is Sandra Fluck. You know Sandra? I left 2 tickets for Sandra, plus a month's supply of birth control pills at will call. Is she here tonight? No, she's not. Sandra, buy your own coupon, right? We shouldn't be paying for this or a lot of other stuff. That's why we owe $16 trillion. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. That's it for me.
You say, Mr. Stewart.
My friend Bill OReilly is completely full of shit. Now, he and I agree this country does face some problems. We do have some issues. What we disagree on is the scope of these issues and the cause of these issues and the timing of these issues. I believe we have very complex problems in this country, like we have had in this country low since its inception. What is wrong with this country is not that we face problems that we have not faced before. We face a deficiency in our problem-solving mechanism. And the reason we face a difficulty in our problem-solving mechanism is that a good portion of this country has created an alternate universe in which the issues that we face revolve around a woman from Georgetown who wanted birth control, which is a health issue for women, covered on her health insurance in the same way that Viagra is covered for many others. I call this alternate reality, I call this place where these folks live Bullshit Mountain. The denizens of Bullshit Mountain believe many things. They believe that a Kenyan Muslim president has fundamentally changed the relationship between government and the people of this country. On Bullshit Mountain, they believe that if they built it, it was because of their success and a little quick moxie and freedom juice. But if life hasn't worked out for them, it is the government on their back. Oh, Bullshit Mountain is a dangerous place. Not to mention the winters on Bullshit Mountain. Oh, the winters on Bullshit Mountain are long and cold. And Christmas, the most ubiquitous holiday in the history of mankind, is under threat on Bullshit Mountain because somewhere, somehow, a parade in Tulsa has changed its name from Christmas to holiday. I have come here tonight to plead to the mayor of Bullshit Mountain talk to your people. Now, I know that you don't live on Bullshit Mountain year-round. Obviously have to leave for provisions, and I believe you have a summer place. But until we can agree on a reality that exists in this country, you and those denizens believe that we face a cataclysm, a societal cataclysm between freedom and socialism. And on Bullshit Mountain, our problems are amplified and our solutions simplified, and that's why they won't work. We face a debt crisis that we've never faced before. We are merely weeks from being a failed state or even worse, Greece. And the way to solve it is to kill Big Bird. Now, let me say this. That is not a solution. And I believe tonight we will take you down from the mountain. And you can come live amongst the people once again. Thank you.
I don't really have to. A minute to reply? That's all I really need.
1 minute.
Okay, all right. Well, while we're on the subject of BS, why is NPR getting our money? There he is, all right? Why? Now, Mr. Stewart, of course, very eloquent in his use of the imagery that he put forth tonight.
Bullshit.
Right. Very, very, very eloquent. Totally dodging every important issue. Everyone. Income redistribution.
Yes.
Do you believe in it?
Do you?
No. I asked first. Oh,
I
it's
believe,
a complicated
I
one.
believe in Social Security. Do you believe in Social Security?
Yes, absolutely.
So we're both socialists.
No, no.
We're both
Income
socialists.
redistribution.
Social Security is income redistribution.
No, it's not. You pay into it.
But you don't pay into it what you get out of it.
You pay into it.
Some people pay more.
And in a cumulative effect.
No, no, no,
all right?
no, no,
and
no,
then
no,
you
no,
get,
no.
Yep.
It is a progressive tax.
All right.
If you earn $125,000, you pay more into it than someone who pays $50,000. That's
You dodge a question. Income redistribution, Robin Hood on steroids, okay? Cuba, Sherwood Forest, Mao. Right. Now, this is not how the founding fathers envisioned us. All right. I like you much better back then.
all right. I'll go halfway.
So, we have a president here who believes in social justice, all right? He wants to take your money, my money, the money of the 1%, all right? And he wants to give it to Bill Moyers. There he is. Bill gets it. I don't want to do it, all right? I work hard for my money.
Let me ask you
Here's
this.
how hard I work. I'm here.
Okay.
That's how hard.
You don't want your taxes to go to something that you don't agree with. Is that your premise?
I want them to go. I want my taxes to go to people who need help. Now, Bill Moyers needs help. I understand that, but not economically. All right? What was that?
Thank you.
What was that?
We're moving on
I
to
don't know.
questions.
I don't know that I have time to unpack this. But the reason that we invest in things like public television is that it brings educational programs to communities that would not have them. It's one of the best investments we ever made as a country. Now, second of all, the investment in public television is $130 million. $130 million. And I am sorry that you don't want to spend your hard-earned tax money on that $130 million, but let me say this to you. Welcome to the fucking club. Now, no.
Do you know how many birth control pills
Here's
130
what I would say.
buy? Come on.
Give me my money back. The $800 billion for the Iraq War and children's television is on the house. Give me the money back for the Iraq War and it's rubbers for everybody on me.
Excuse me.
This notion that we are not a society that when you pay in your taxes, you must agree with every single expenditure that is given is ridiculous.
You know what's Here's what's ridiculous. Here's what's ridiculous. $16 trillion debt, and we got to pay for Bill Moyers. Let him compete on his own. You want an educational program? Watch your program. Spring for the cable, all right? Let him compete on his own.
Well, let me ask you this then.
Come on.
If NPR...
16 trillion, you got to start to cut.
Okay, we have
Thanks.
to start to cut. I'm
Yeah.
not sure
Gentlemen,
130 million is the way to
may we go
go.
to the questions?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. Can we just keep going?
You're done with your opening
But this is, I
statements.
think, a good area to go on because I think
We're gonna
it
get to
speaks
that
to
area.
scale and it speaks to the psychosis of Bullshit Mountain. So let me just very quickly get in
let's
this.
talk about-
So Bill O'Reilly has identified the $130 million from NPR because NPR should be able to compete on its own.
Correct.
Let me ask you this. Should Exxon be able to compete on its own? Because we give to them and other companies like it, the top 250 countries in this country, over $260 billion every year.
Yeah. I actually agree with you.
What?
I'm not giving subsidies to anybody.
Thank
Phil,
you.
do you have a question?
I actually do, yes.
Oh, dear. Should I come down?
Let's go with it. Come off the mountain right now.
I got to tell you something.
Keep going.
I can see why Obama did badly in the debate. The altitude really is rough up here. My head is spinning.
You mentioned earlier that President Obama didn't create the mess. He says, I got this. I got this on the first day I walked into it. So who do you think, or what do you think, is to blame for where we are economically? Bill, you go ahead.
Excellent question.
What is to blame for where we are economically?
Yes.
Excellent question.
Well,
May I borrow one of your cards for this?
thank you for asking that. Small business scared of Obamacare won't hire. All right? So when the government starts to call the shots in the free marketplace and the shots start to make people a little nervous, they say, hey, maybe I'm not going to hire so much. And worse than that, maybe I'll start to let people go. And maybe I won't lend any money, like the banks. You guys know that since Obama has been in office.
We're allowed to bring notes?
Yeah, since the president's been in office. Doesn't it feel much better now? Oh, he's back. $5,000 the average worker has lost in pay. That's a lot of dough. And gas prices have more than doubled, all right? So you're paying more for stuff and you're making less. Why are you making less? Because the employers go, you know what? For every job I have open, I got 10 people wanting it. So I'm not going to pay you very much. I'm bringing the salaries down. It is a mess. So you got to let the free marketplace kind of run a little bit. Now, I understand the greed heads. I understand the Wall Street stuff. I got it. I'm not a big Wall Street guy. But you got to let them go. You got to unleash the machine.
Yes, because what could go wrong?
Oh, like we're doing real great now, huh?
We're not doing real great now, but if you take your eye from looking at the world through a toilet paper roll and you get a broader perspective on it, you'll see that the things that you are suggesting are not part of a fundamental change that Obama has brought.
And
that
what
is my only
exactly
point.
is that change?
Well, let me put it to you this way. So, when Bush left office, when he took office, he had a $100 billion surplus, yes? When he left office, the deficit that he left in 1 year was $1.2 trillion, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So that is a change from $100 billion of surplus to $1.2 trillion in deficit. That's a difference of
Yes.
$1.3 trillion.
Okay.
The president, his first year, there was a deficit of $1.2 trillion. This year, it's $1.2 trillion. So he's held the deficit steady.
How altogether, how much debt has President Obama run up? How much?
$6 trillion.
Very good. $6 trillion.
Yeah, I learned that on Sesame Street. Well, let me ask you this.
And what is that all Bush's fault, right?
No, but what is the debt that Bush ran up?
Bush. Okay. I'm not.
Well.
No, you see, look.
No.
Bush is gone. Bush is gone. I'm not defending Bush.
Bush is gone.
I'm not defending him.
This isn't a question of defending Bush. It's
Sure
a question,
it is.
No, it's not. It's a question of putting our issues in context.
No.
And I know context isn't a
Ridiculous.
proper.
You're saying, look, yeah, my guy ran up $6 trillion in debt, but what did Bush do? Come on, it's ridiculous. It doesn't matter what Bush did. The job of the president now is to get the debt under control, and you got to cut stuff.
Exactly. So right now, the debt is steady. Right now, what we've done is bounce it. So
No, we haven't balanced the debt. Are you kidding me? We have a
the
$1
deficit,
trillion
we
deficit.
have the deficit holding steady.
Now, you need to go up on the mountain. It's not holding steady. It's
It's
$1 trillion, man, plus in 13. That's the deficit. Another trillion,
Right.
Stewart.
In other words, it hasn't increased year to year.
Oh, it hasn't increased. Are you kidding me? If he's reelected the president, we'll have a $20 trillion deficit, even if he takes all your stuff. All right? It's not going to matter.
Here's what I don't understand. Your party on Bullshit Mountain
I'm
believes...
not in a party.
Right. Okay. You believe that because this other president is out of office, that the Republican Party sprang like Athena out of Zeus's head, newborn when Barack Obama was inaugurated. Here's why it matters about our debt and our deficit under Bush. What he created was a society of entitlement that we could have 2 wars that cost $800 billion and cut taxes at the same time. So if you look at the debt as a measure of it, we have $16 trillion in debt. $10 trillion of it occurred under the Bush presidency. Now, why is that important? Because the policies that he's enacted
didn't occur under the Bush presidency. That was the total debt since George Washington, all right?
No.
You zipped it on up.
No, sir, that is not correct.
Look.
We had a surplus under Clinton.
A surplus
under Clinton.
No,
the
no,
debt
no,
had
no.
been X'd out.
So
Bush
the
took
debt
us
wasn't X'd out. You're
to
mixing
$10
up the
trillion.
deficit with the debt.
No, he took us
No. You're missing the deficit with the deficit is yearly spending. The debt is cumulative. The debt wasn't wiped out.
1.7 trillion in Bush tax cuts, yes? That was part of the debt.
I'm not going to defend Bush or the Republican Party. I'm going to tell you one thing.
Yes.
The highest tax revenues in the history of this nation occurred in 2007. The government got more money from we the people than any other time in history under the Bush tax the rich tax cuts. All right? Because everybody was working. Everybody was investing so that the government got all the money in 2007. Highest revenue. Now, the class warfare game is we'll boost revenue by taxing the rich. You know how much that is going to bring in a year? You know how much?
80 billion a year.
Okay, it's actually 90.
90
billion a year because he's making a lot of money over
So that would be $900 billion over 10 years. But seriously, we need to get rid of
That's
NPR.
nothing. That's like nothing.
Let's move on to entitlements.
That's not nothing.
Entitlements.
Are you still here?
I am. So glad I was invited.
Hanging in.
Let's go to entitlements, and you get to go first this time, John. The Wall Street Journal and the Washington Post recently reviewed census data. Report 49% of American households got entitlements last year, and that entitlement spending climbed even as we started moving out of the recession. So, John, do you think the expansion of entitlements is necessary, and is there a possibility it's turning us into a nation of takers?
Well, first of all, we're an entitlement nation. We were born that way. We're a country that came to another country with people on it and went, yeah, I think we'll have that. Yeah, that'll be nice. Have you ever seen Oprah's Favorite Things episode? We are people that want free things. We're not an entitlement nation. We are an entitlement species. But the point of this is, has this president fundamentally changed the relationship between entitlements and the government? And that is why it's important to look at his predecessors and what has gone before it. Barack Obama hasn't increased and expanded your ability to get welfare and food stamps by broadening the pool. More people have fallen into the social safety net that exists there because, as we talk about, $2.5 trillion of money went out of our economy in the bank crisis in 2 weeks. So we can all talk about how the government is spending too much money and the free market has to take us out of it, but nobody talks about the flip side of the free market, which is the bust. And we have to start understanding how they can no longer privatize their profits and socialize their losses. They can no longer begin to take all that money and when it goes out, suddenly complain that somehow the 20% of people that are hungry, that are not doing well, and by the way, 2% of people get welfare as we know it. The 2% of the people. I don't know where this 20% comes from. I don't know what the figure is. I don't even know what you're talking about.
I have the figures right here. Would you like to know?
I would like to know.
Okay. Here we have 107 million people live in homes. This is 35% of the American population, all right, that get means-tested entitlements. That's not Social Security, not Medicare, all right? That means some kind of food stamp or some kind of thing. But look, nobody begrudges people who needed a safety net. But right now, we have this mindset that, you know what, if times are tough, I'm going to take what I can take. Let me ask you this. Do you know what disability, federal disability is now under President Obama? It's almost doubled, all right?
Let me ask you this question,
So is the
though.
workplace that much dangerous, much more dangerous? As soon as he came into office, things got really tough?
But that's a ridiculous statistic.
No,
First of all, he hasn't expanded your ability to get it. He has not made it easier to get disability.
More people are applying for it because it's the mindset.
No,
it's the Zorba the Greek mindset.
We're getting
Let's
old.
Go. Here we are. The government will give it to us.
Here's the statistics on that. The statistics on that are 40 to 50-year-olds, that has stayed steady. The largest increase in disability is people ages 60 and above, and it's not people dropping bowling balls on their foot and not wanting to work anymore, it's arthritis. Let me ask you a question.
So there's a lot more arthritis now than there was 4 years ago.
Hell yeah!
There's a plague just came in of arthritis.
And it's not 4 years ago, it's 9 million more people. But let me ask you this, and I say this because this is an important point as well, because one of the things that happens on Bullshit Mountain is this. When you need something, it's an entitlement. When they need something, hey man, it just is what it is. So I'm going to ask you this.
Who's they?
Now
Who's they?
Where did you grow up?
In Levittown, Long Island.
Let me describe a town to you if I could. Imagine a town that is inhabited by people who had their education paid for by the government. And the entire town is built through subsidies, low mortgages that go through there. Do you know what that town would be called?
Havana.
Levittown.
Oh,
Levittown is based on the GI Bill and subsidized housing. It was created for veterans coming back from World War II.
The housing wasn't subsidized.
It was absolutely subsidized with low mortgages.
The low mortgages. The houses stayed the same. The Levitt brothers made billions.
I understand.
All right?
So
they
the houses weren't subsidized.
It was low mortgage rates for the guys that
was subsidized. It's subsidized housing. Right. So you grew up in subsidized housing, my friend. Second of all, when your father left his business, what did he leave with? What did he leave?
His shoes.
No. What did he take when he left? Tell the truth.
What did he take?
He filed for what?
He filed for Social Security?
No.
What?
Disability.
No, he didn't. Oh, you talking about?
Yeah.
You're talking about?
From his company.
Oh, from his company, not from the government.
Oh, so that's okay. See,
well,
this is the problem.
He had colitis.
Okay.
Well, he had colitis.
I see. So
and he didn't. Wait a minute. Hold it.
Right.
He didn't file a federal. To his company.
And what do you do if your company doesn't provide that?
What do you do?
Yeah. But you have colitis. But you have colitis, and you don't have a company. You work for the government.
Nobody begrudges.
What do you do?
Wait. Nobody begrudges people who are ill on the job if they're ill on the job.
You just begrudged.
No.
You've been begrudging all night. This is nothing but begrudging. All night long, begrudge.
Hold it.
You make a judgment. Sandra Fluck doesn't need what she wants. Old people don't need disability. Nobody needs that because it's coming out of your pocket. But when your family needed it, well, it was colitis, and he had it through the private sector, and it's always different.
Through the private sector. It was through the private sector. What is wrong with you? He worked for a company.
Because
he
not
was
everybody
ill.
works for a company
it
that
doesn't
provides
matter.
that.
If they genuinely need it, there's no beef. If they genuinely need it, there's no beef.
Nobody
But you're
is
telling me in the
suggesting-
last 4 years, the workplace, arthritis has swept in, and twice as many people have it than they did 4 years ago? Look, this goes back to buy your own, okay? The mindset is, if I can gin the system, I'll do it because it's easy. Because we can do it now, because that's the culture. Do you not see the riots in the street in Spain and Italy and Greece? Do you not see them? What are they rioting about? Cutbacks in their entitlements paid for by the government, not Caltex. All right?
But the point isn't that.
Hold it.
All right.
And my father's salary, a portion of it, went into that fund in case he needed that disability.
Let me
He
ask you a
doesn't know
question.
the difference between the private and the public sector. We don't have any beef with private companies providing whatever they want. That's the free marketplace. But when you get a Sandra Fluck saying, I'm entitled to my birth control paid for by the taxpayer, that's insane. All right?
We have to understand as a society, we have already decided to take care of people who need help. That's the society that we have. Who need help.
Who need help.
But nobody is arguing that people with fraudulent claims should get them.
Okay, then you explain.
What the argument should be is...
I want to know on
Yes.
your platform
Yes.
why there's an explosion in disability in 4 years. What is it that has come in
So
to
your
cause
suggestion
so many
is
more people to
Barack
be ill?
Obama came into office and everybody went, Lord
Happy
have mercy,
days
I
are
don't
here
have to work
again.
anymore.
Here we are.
Barack Obama is here. Barack Obama did not change the rules for entitlements in this country.
He made it a lot easier to
did
get.
not.
I'm sure he did.
He didn't.
They advertise on the radio for food stamps. Are you kidding me?
Why is it that if you take advantage of a tax break and you're a corporation, you're a smart businessman, but if you take advantage of something that you need to not be hungry, you're a moocher? What kind of business is that? It's ridiculous. Let's say this. See, here's the problem with Bullshit Mountain. Let me get this in here. They don't see the connection between government action and moving forward. Here's an example. At the Republican convention, there was a woman up there who had won 4 gold medals in shooting. A wonderful, exciting American story. And when she was on stage at the Republican convention, she talked about how the women at the Olympics crushed it, did great, won more medals than women at the Olympics had ever won in the history of the Olympics. The U.S. women would have finished 9th if they were a country. And they celebrated that at the Republican convention, rightfully so, on We Built It night, the night where they all came out and talked about how they didn't need anything, they were the ones that did it. What they never talked about, and the connection they never drew, was in 1972, the government instituted Title IX. Title IX took that money by force through fairness, and they took that money and they made it distributed more equitably through the schools. It was an enormous controversy, and it paid off at the Republican National Convention with a woman talking about gold medals. There is a connection when the government invests in infrastructure and its people and the success of this country.
Let's move on. And let's go. Climbing the mountain. Let's move to the Middle East.
The Middle East?
Wait, where'd we just go?
Let's go to the Middle East.
We just went to the Middle East?
Bin Laden is
What?
dead.
He's here?
American troops are out of Iraq. However, even after the troops surged, the Taliban alive and well in Afghanistan. And increasingly, it appears that groups like Ansar al-Sharia are picking up where bin Laden left off. So how would you rate the president's policy in the Middle East? Bill, we start with you.
Some of the president's policies against terrorism have been very good, okay? Particularly the drones. Drones, yes. Waterboards, no. Okay? I want, later you can explain this to me. Waterboarding, no. We can't do that. However, we will drop a missile in the middle of town and wipe out everyone. That's okay. But waterboarding, no.
Let me agree with Bill OReilly and say, I agree on both these counts. We shouldn't waterboard people or drop missiles into the middle of the villages.
Okay. I like the missile thing.
I'm pretty down with that.
Okay. This is
By the way, there's a
logical
difference between
thinking, though. You know?
being on the field
Right.
of battle and being captured. I mean,
Right.
there's always been sort of a rule that once you capture somebody, you don't torture them. But that's the whole other thing.
Muslim Brotherhood, not our friends, all right? Get a clue. Not our friends. So that's a mistake that the president has made in the Middle East. He's done a good job on terrorism, by the way.
Let me ask you about Libya and Syria, because...
Can I just very quickly?
Yes, you may.
again,
We have to feel
it's
sorry
just,
for the Muslim
it's
Brotherhood?
interesting about the short-term memory loss on the mountain we discussed earlier. In 2001, 2002, all we heard about was America must spread democracy to the Middle East. We must, even if it means invading their country to get them to have elections. All we had to do was spread democracy because democracy was going to keep us safe. And now we have democracy breaking out in Egypt and Libya and Tunisia, but because we didn't cause it and we didn't invade those countries and they're voting for themselves, now we have a problem with who they selected. Unfortunately, with democracy, the whole idea of it is we don't get to install the leader of that country.
Okay, but
that country gets to install the leader. Now, you may believe that that leader is not good for America, but that's not your choice anymore. And a policy 8 years ago of spreading democracy throughout the Middle East has suddenly become, as long as they choose the people we find acceptable.
Well, of course you're going to have that attitude, but wait a minute, I don't get to choose? You get a president and you get a dead ambassador, you get to choose on how you react to that, all right? So if you're going to kiss their butts over there, they ain't going to respect you, and that's what's happening.
See, once
Let
again,
me just
it's
break
the
it to you.
simple
Let me break
solution
it
to
to you,
accomplish
Stewart.
as long as
Here,
we-
let me break it to you.
Yes.
Another card. Iran, not frightened.
Really?
Not frightened.
Really?
Okay? There's
You
the
know
big
they're
bomb
having-
right
they're
there.
having currency
They're not
riots.
scared.
They're having currency riots as we speak.
Yeah, they're not scared of us. They may be scared of the real. They're not scared of us. And the reason is not anything that the president has done overtly, because he hasn't backed off or anything like that. That's foolish. But the signal he sends to the world is, hey, let's have a conversation.
No, you're right.
All right?
You're right.
And his voice goes up 5 octaves.
No, you're right.
Sometimes you have to say,
if the president would only lower his voice
like this.
and put a stern look on his face,
Like this.
I think Iran will give up their nuclear ambitions. And I believe in my
All-
soul.
Here's a clue for you, another one. All Barack Obama has to do is go on a double date with with Netanyahu, okay? Just double date with him, all right? Go anywhere with him. That sends a little message to Tehran. Hey, whoa, they might be making up some stuff. Maybe we want to take a look at this, all right? But, when you say,
I think
hey,
you want to be
who
the
should I
secretary
meet?
of
What should I
senility.
do?
Look, that's not a diplomatic policy to say, let's go on a double date with Netanyahu, and then
You
Tehran
send
says,
a little message, all right? But when you say, gee,
what do sanctions do?
Netanyahu, I really can't meet with you because I have to go on The View. That doesn't send a big message. And meantime, they're polishing up the little bomb over there, he's going on The View. He's not going to talk to Netanyahu.
So did they attack our embassy because Barack Obama is weak?
They're not afraid of us.
Did they attack our embassy because Barack Obama is weak?
Did they attack it because he's weak?
And because they're not afraid of us anymore?
The authorities in Egypt could have and should have put the army in front of the embassy and stopped it.
Are you talking about Libya or are you talking about Egypt?
They did not do that because they knew there
talking
would
about
not
Libya
be
or
a
are you talking about
reprisal.
Egypt?
They would not do it. That's why they did not do it.
So the guy with the drone army that drops missiles into these towns is the one that's soft on terror, and that has what
There's
allowed...
a difference between terror and coddling governments. There's a difference. And the Muslim Brotherhood in Cairo
Are you talking about
made
Libya
a
or
calculation. Look, you know they made a calculation. Everybody knew that embassy was going to get hit. And
in
the
Libya
Egyptians,
or in Egypt?
We're talking about Egypt now.
But I thought we were talking about Libya.
It's
But the guy wasn't
a
killed in
number of
Egypt, he was
things
killed in
happened,
Libya.
Stewart. A number of things happened.
I know a number of things happened,
Right.
but the guy, our ambassador to
Muslim
Libya was the one.
Brotherhood, they're in Egypt.
It wasn't the Muslim Brotherhood that attacked the Libyan embassy. It was Al-Qaeda, was it not? I mean,
I think it's on
You want to
it's on
explain it to
Sharia.
him, or should I?
Well, let me ask you.
There were two
let me-
separate attacks.
No, there were
No, let me ask you
19
this
separate
No,
attacks.
there were
about-
two that made
All around a bunch of
two
different countries.
that made worldwide headlines.
Here's all I'm going to say.
One in Libya,
under Bush,
one in Egypt.
there were 9 attacks on
Let-
American consulates. So the idea, once again, that somehow there is a fundamental change because Barack Obama is in office is a fiction. Like the whole thing has been a fiction. That somehow, if Barack Obama talked more like a cowboy and was nicer to Israel, somehow the Arab world would go, oh, I had no idea you guys would get mad at us for that.
let me ask you about the Benghazi consulate.
One more thing. So you're kind of happy the way things are going in Iran.
Bill, be quiet.
I am not happy the way
You're kind of happy about Iran, where they're going. You're kind of happy about this policy.
So basically, negating your premise means I'm happy?
I don't know. I don't know where you are. You're Egypt, you're Libya,
here's where I am. Democracy in the Middle East is their right as human beings, and we are not ones who can tell them who they or who not they can elect. And it is a difficult and dangerous and volatile situation.
No. Nobody's saying you tell them about their democracy. You tell them you attack our embassy one more time, we're cutting off all our aid and pulling everybody out of there. That's what you tell them.
Like we did in Lebanon.
That's what you tell them.
Like we did in Lebanon with Reagan. Like we did in Lebanon with Reagan, like we did under Bush with all the attacks on the consulates.
Now
Bush had the same attacks.
Bush is gone. He's gone.
But why are you holding one president to a different standard than the other?
Because I don't have time to hold Martin Van Buren to a standard than Obama. He's in office.
This is not ancient history. This is just 8 years ago. Why can't we deal with it in the context of both presidencies?
Let me ask you about the Benghazi consulate, because we know that our ambassador is killed there, other Americans killed. The consulate is attacked. CNN and the Washington Post get reporters in there in 4 days. 3 weeks later, the U.S. government gets investigators in there with the FBI. And part of the reason they say is because it took a long time to get the Libyan government to approve us going in there to investigate what happened at our consulate.
We have to respect them.
Should we have to wait for approval?
Of course. They're a democracy. If they don't want to let us in, we can't go in.
No, we should just do whatever we want, whenever we want.
When there's a dead American ambassador, I think we should do whatever we want.
I agree that things have to be dealt with in a timely fashion, but you're making, again, a false choice.
That was her. She made the false statement.
It's a false choice that somehow, I think this whole situation in Libya has been mishandled by the United States government. I'm not sure why they haven't been able to get their story straight. I don't know, so I'm not going to defend that. But what I am trying to do is look at it in the larger context of American foreign policy. And that's the question of this. Somehow this idea that we project weakness and suddenly all these countries are going to take advantage of us is a fiction. And I don't believe that this president has projected a gigantic weakness around the globe, or that attacking Iraq and occupying that country projected a strength around the world. I just think that is an incorrect assumption.
Bill, to be pretty blunt, and it's not this president, it's a lot of presidents, it appears that the American foreign policy has been to go into the Middle East and try to buy friends. Does that ever work?
Yeah, we can buy friends.
I think it worked.
Yeah. You know, sometimes you got to deal with unsavory people if they're helping you in some way. And it's the way of the world. The history's always been, look at that. Look at FDR and Stalin. I mean, my God. So, look, it's a difficult thing in the Middle East.
Wait a second. Can we just go back and contrast that with what you just said about the Muslim Brotherhood, just very quickly? So when it comes to Saudi Arabia, hey, look, sometimes you got to deal with unsavory people. When it comes to the Muslim Brotherhood, look, we got to go in there and we got to tell them, you come near us again and we're going to bomb you.
That's right.
Okay.
Here's the difference. They attacked our embassy in Cairo. The Saudis didn't do anything.
But you're assuming that it was attacked through a concerted effort by Morsi and the Muslim Brotherhood, and not, let's say, just a gang of people.
I don't care if it was Jerry and the Pacemakers who attacked it, all right? They could have stopped it.
This is on the internet, Bill. I really don't think Jerry and the Pacemakers is the reference to make.
You know who they are.
Let me just explain something very quickly. Right now, Bill O'Reilly's audience is calling my audience on the phone to try and figure out how to download this thing. So, trust me, that is not the reference to be making.
For the third time, it doesn't matter, all right?
All right.
Whether Lil Wayne attacked. All right?
Boom!
It doesn't matter.
Boom! That was nice.
The government could have stopped it, and they didn't. All right? That's thumb in the eye, and that's, you better not do it again. That's what the American president has to do. Thomas Jefferson and the Barbary Pirates. Oh, Jesus.
Moving on to media bias, Vice Presidential candidate Paul Ryan says that most people in mainstream media are left of center and they want a very left of center president. So, John, is there this media bias or is that bunk?
I mean, it depends. Again, I think that Fox News is an overreaction to what may be a patina of people that believe in other words, I don't think ABC and NBC and CBS are activist organizations for liberal causes. I think Fox looks at those organizations and they are sort of an autoimmune disease against that. Fox News is sort of the lupus of news. They have seen something, it is there with a soupçon, and Fox News has gone overboard.
Well, hey, FNC making more than $1 billion a year, so something's going right. I worked at ABC and CBS.
You can't make money selling crap in
you
this
worked
country,
at,
that's for sure. This won't happen. This can't have it. It's not like crack and Honey Boo Boo at the top of the... Go ahead.
We'll ignore this immature stuff.
Let me ask you about polls, Bill.
Wait, no. You worked at CNN, I worked at ABC and CBS. The culture is left-wing, and how that plays out is, he's right, they're not like marching in the newsroom with "We Love Che" signs, but it's who they hire, all right? It's who gets promoted. It's what they put in front of you as far as story count is concerned, what stories they concentrate on, what stories they ignore. All of that plays in, and that's why Fox News is successful, because it gives voice to traditional conservatives at the same level as liberal voices. And in my show in particular, which is the big monster, you know that, we put 1 to 1. It's 1 to 1.
No, it's absolutely fair.
Right. You're right. You were on the other night.
I think anytime you run an organization where more people believe that the president is a Muslim than believe in evolution is a problem.
What organization is that? And where did you come up with that?
Hey, look at the viewers, man. They've done polls of your viewers more than believe that the president is a Muslim.
They did a poll of Fox News that said most employees at Fox News believe...
No, not employees. I'm sorry, viewers. I apologize.
Viewers.
Viewers, yeah, I apologize.
Most viewers.
No, I don't know. It wasn't. I don't know.
Oh, you don't know if it's most?
Plurality, but it was.
It was
more
maybe a
believe,
couple,
more
a
than,
few maybe.
More than believed it was
maybe
a
some in
Muslim.
Wyoming. I got him. What else?
We're going into the lightning round questions.
Lightning round.
Lightning round.
Are we in the lightning round?
Yeah, we are.
Wow.
We are. Bill is well known for carrying this pocket-sized.
Bill is not well known.
So jealous.
Constitution and Declaration of Independence, which, by the way, is your Hanukkah gift this year.
Thank you.
In the Declaration, the U.S. government is charged with making sure that we have life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. What else should the government have to give us? John?
Other than life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness?
Birth
I don't know,
control
that's
pills.
pretty all-encompassing. Well, let me put it this way. Let me go to the Constitution then.
each.
Let me go to the Constitution if I could. Because I think that's one of the things on Bullshit Mountain is they are the protectors of the Constitution in this country and freedom. And the rest of the 50% of the people who don't live on the mountain that are parasitic and sucking the life out of them don't respect the Constitution. So let's look at the first sentence of the Constitution, which says, we the people, in order to form a more perfect, what? LLC? No. Union. Union. To form a more perfect union. And in fact, promote the general welfare. The first sentence of the Constitution mentions unions and welfare. I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what to tell you. It doesn't mention corporations, and it doesn't mention anything else. Unions and welfare. Blame the founders.
I do.
Because we as a country are only as strong as the weakest amongst us. As the New Testament tells us, the poor will always be with us. What we need to focus on is not whether or not to take care of them, but how best to efficiently bring the poor and those in need back into more productive society.
This is a total outrage. This is This man has offended, this man over here has offended every single American. Are you going to stand there? Are you sitting or standing?
I read the Bible.
Are you going to stand?
You know what? Here's the thing.
We are only
as
as
short.
good.
But when you tell me I'm short, I don't blame the Liberal Weights and Measures Bureau or I don't suggest that my numbers are skewed and I'm really 6'1", if only the lamestream media would tell people.
Yeah.
I trust that I'm 5'7".
That's right. And you don't know this, but the feds pay for that lift. All right? So he went in. But he's offended every single American by saying that we are only as good as our weakest link.
I believe that
We're
is
only as good as CNN? Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me?
But that is why we have to work to help CNN out of this terrible predicament that they're in.
Right on.
We need to work together.
Right on.
And help CNN reintroduce themselves
and this
to
guy
productive
too,
society.
right here, right there.
Next question. A lot of folks don't realize that you chose Washington, D.C. so they could supersize their Slurpees, because you can't have it in New York. New York,
Yes.
Big Apple, small soda state.
That is true.
Should the government be counting calories for us?
Well, that depends.
Should the government be counting
I
calories?
think the government should
Tell us
allow
what
adults
size
to.
soda we can buy and we can consume.
Yeah, I think adults should be able to buy whatever it is they wish to buy. Now, that being said, we have a health crisis in this country, and I know that Mitt Romney is fond of saying, well, the emergency room takes care of that for people who don't have insurance. I personally believe that this idea that everyone should have insurance is a very smart one, because it takes the socialism out of our health care program, so that we're not all paying for those who are poor to go to the health facilities. Everybody would have.
Who do you think's paying for the 20 million that don't have insurance? Who do you think's paying for them?
No, I'm saying that. That's why it's important.
We're paying for them.
No, I know I'm saying that.
Okay. We're paying for them.
If you hadn't have looked down at your cards, you'd have followed this.
I was listening to every word, but I couldn't follow it. What was the question again?
You must lose your mind in a Kinko's.
Oh, you're crazy.
We're going to the next one.
Should the government supersize that? He's already supersized.
They tell us. They tell us what size soda you can have, because
They're
they're
talking about New York.
take
This is
care
the
of
The
it.
feds. This is Bloomberg. He has nothing
It's
to
Bloomberg,
do.
but
Come
yeah.
on.
It's government. Let's go
I'll
to
tell you what
one
I
of your
like.
favorite topics.
The grades on the restaurants. I like that.
You like the what?
The grades on the
grades.
restaurants, the grading system.
1 rat, 2 rat, 3 rats?
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that.
A, B, C, D. I think that works out.
What rodent is
One
the plot
of the
du
favorite
jour?
topics the two of you have is there a war on Christmas? And if there has been this war on Christmas, who won?
Yeah, that's not fair. War on Christmas? Here? Come on.
Let me handle this.
Oh, yeah. No.
In this country, I believe that this Christmas thing, look, I think people have confused not being able to pray everywhere with not being able to pray anywhere. And I think they've confused the loss of absolute power with persecution. And the idea that Christmas, I'm a Jew. If you think Christmas isn't celebrated in this country as Christmas, walk a mile in Hanukkah shoes, brother, because you have no idea. Now, I get it. Let me say this. I get it. They are celebrating the birth of their Savior, and I dig that. That's an important thing. And we're celebrating that the oil lasted longer than we thought it would, all right? It's not equivalent necessarily, but when I hear them complaining about, oh my God, I mean, Fox News, the headquarters of Fox News is what, in Rockefeller Center. If you walk outside of Fox News, it looks like Santa Claus exploded in December. There's the Christmas Spectacular at Radio City Music Hall. There's the Rockefeller Christmas tree. Like, this whole idea is insanity.
Yeah, I know. First of all, we won the war on Christmas, number 1. And number 2, the reason it was launched,
The reason
it was launched, you remember, was the ACLU, all right, filed a number of lawsuits against little towns.
Yes.
They had the baby Jesus in the manger,
Yes.
in the square, along with the menorah, along with the Star and Crescent, along with the McDonald's logo. Everybody was there, all right?
Well,
but
as
the
long as you're not
ACLU,
being
baby
dismissive.
Jesus, get him out of there. Slap the baby Jesus.
Yes.
All right. They filed lawsuits,
Yes.
on paper,
Yes.
all right? Now, how we won? Barack Obama dropped a drone on ACLU headquarters. Boom, they're done, all right? Good. In addition,
And by the way, why do we say Merry Christmas more than one day? It's a birthday, right? Like, when it's your birthday, do people that whole month be like, Happy birthday? Like, no. It's one day. Why shouldn't you say happy holidays during the season? It's 2 holidays. It's Christmas and New Year's. That's plural. Why would you just say Merry Christmas? Merry Christmas is actually incorrect. To say Merry Christmas to someone on December 23rd, Jesus should just be like, it's not my birthday, dude.
Something we haven't heard about much on the campaign trail, immigration reform.
Immigration reform.
Why not? Why haven't we heard them talking about that?
Wait, what? Oh, no, I think, again, if you were to look at the situation, it is, I think, a smart thing to get children of immigrants who have been illegal, had nothing to do with it, into the system. And I actually think it'd be much smarter if we would find a way to secure the border, but take care of the people who are illegal that are here and give them a path to citizenship. But I don't know why we're talking about this in that manner, because we're just going to build a wall, actually double wall, and a moat with crocodiles. And Joe Arpaio is just going to walk back and forth with a flashlight.
I don't have any beef. I think that you should be humane, because it's the federal government's fault. It's a mess anyway. They did it.
Socialist.
I saw these people in there. Anyway.
You don't have any
Did you see how the Telemundo guys worked your guy over, though, on the, hey, you promised to do something and you didn't do anything? Did you see that? Did you see the interview?
I did.
The Telemundo guys?
Yeah, I saw it.
And they said in
It's
Spanish
amazing
and
that
English.
The liberal
So
left-wing
like
media
yeah, they were
would
doing that.
do that kind of
thing. And then the president said,
yeah.
Oh.
I saw.
Okay. And that was the best interview, by the way, these Telemundo people. That was the best one so far in the campaign.
You think?
Yeah, they haven't come through me yet, though. Neither. And I'm such a Republican shill. Mitt Romney's kicking my door in to get in there, yeah.
Military service. Should there be mandatory military or public service? Is that a good idea?
I think that what we've done with the military in this country is tragic. I think that there was a bill that was in the Senate that Republicans filibustered, that Senator Tom Coburn put a hold on. There was a $1 billion jobs bill for veterans that he said we're not paying for and we should not fund, and therefore it should not happen. Yet he and many of those other senators had no problem spending $800 billion to make those people veterans, even though that money wasn't funded or paid for by taxes. So I think it's atrocious what we've done to veterans. And secondly, that is another thing. The idea that we sent these guys off to war, we didn't pay for it, we didn't ask for any sacrifice. Bush said, we are in a generational war, a war of our lives, but don't worry, we're not going to raise taxes and we're not going to make you go fight it or have any sacrifices. It is outrageous, and I think there should be a draft, not necessarily just for the military, but kids should have at least 1 year where they have to do some form of service, whether it be military or public service or something along those lines, and that's what I would vote for.
I'm against the draft. You know, I'm against the draft because the way it is now, we need a very good professional armed forces. We have it. We have the best armed forces in the world. I don't know the bill that you're referring to. I'd have to see what there are riders on a lot of these bills. So the headline sounds good, and there's 15 things underneath. That might have been derailed. But Stewart and I are pretty simpatico on this, that we got to do everything we can for military people to make sure they're rewarded when they come home, because they had a really rough go of it in Afghanistan and Iraq. It was in both places, awful, terrible theaters. We should not have gone to Iraq. Afghanistan, we had to.
Somebody better live tweet that, motherfuckers. Come on. Live tweet that. Bill OReilly, we should not have gone into Iraq.
At this point, we're moving to the center. They're going to bring some chairs out here.
Oh, we're going to get a little more comfortable.
And we're going to get to...
What's going to happen now?
You're going to move out here.
We're going to move out there?
Yes.
Do I still get my lift?
And you too.
Yeah, he needs to get...
Leave your lift.
Do you have an extra cushion for him?
And I think you all...
I don't mind.
You all were given cards when you came in. People could write
Look
down
at
questions.
these chairs.
They've selected
Look at that.
those.
Only the finest Corinthian leather.
That is nice, isn't it?
Thank you. The internet audience also has been able to...
By the way, Hill didn't want to sit
questions.
next to him. That's why I have to sit next to him.
Not true. Appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you. Next, we're going to take away one of the chairs and play a little music. See what happens.
Let's start with Dean from Tennessee wants to ask this question about the election. What do you think will be the greatest determining factor in the outcome of the 2012 election? Dean's here in the audience. Bill?
Dean! No, he's not.
No, he's not.
Raise your hand.
He's at the movies.
Dean left.
I think that it's going to be very close. Next debate, very big. Because the final debate's on foreign policy, and people are more interested in the economy and stuff like that. So that's going to be like that. Now, the next debate, though, is really, it's an interesting debate because it's a town hall, which means guys get up there and say, well, I know that, so about 3/4 of the debate.
Wait, who's debating in this again? What is it?
It's the regular folks ask the question. And I saw my cousin, you know, so a lot of airtime that's going to be lost. I would just rather have them like Steward and me, wouldn't you? Right up here? Hey, that's how to do it.
John?
Yeah. Yeah, fine.
This question from the internet, Jeffrey from Utah. The current way we elect our president disenfranchises millions of voters by making only a few states count in the actual election. It forces presidential candidates to focus on just a few and ignore the rest. So wouldn't making the popular vote the deciding factor be a more effective way to choose our president? John?
Jeffrey's not kidding around. Yeah, I have no problem with that. The Electoral College makes absolutely no sense to me. So I have no problem with there being a popular vote. And the people I feel bad for, honestly, if I live in Ohio, I'm just annoyed that every 4 years, this phalanx of candidates and reporters descend on my state, promise me the moon, and then November 7th or 8th, fly the hell out of there and don't come back for another 4 years. And I would think that that is incredibly frustrating for a state, probably even more frustrating than being a state like New York or another state that's so solidly either blue or red that nobody even bothers to visit it. I think it's frustrating.
I disagree entirely. If you have a popular vote, then New York, LA, these people control. All right, so the people in Wyoming and the people in Colorado, I have no talk. We're living in a polarized time now, so there are only 8 states really in play, and yes, that's where the election's going to be decided. But that's going to change, all right? It used to be the South was all Democrat, now it's all Republican. It's going to change as the parties evolve and things happen. I think there's going to be a third party, by the way, that's going to come, all right, soon. And that third party is going to change the dynamic of the whole election. But I like the Electoral College system. I think it's a great system.
From what I understand, there is a third party, and Gary Johnson is running as...
That's your local pot dealer, by the way, right there. Rufus.
That is, you don't normally hear that kind of a Peter Brady voice crack, yeah. In an election debate, yeah.
That's what happens when you inhale deeply.
We have another question from one of the members of the audience here. It's from Allison from New Jersey. She says, if the U.S. were burning, what famous person would you save and why? Bill, you want to hit that one first?
U.S. were burning, what famous person would I save?
And why?
And why?
If the U.S. was burning.
Yeah.
How long were you waiting in line, Allison?
I would save Oprah. She's worth about $100 billion. Who would you say?
My family.
Yeah.
But hey, listen. Oprah's a great answer, too.
From the internet, Alex from California writes, if either of you were supreme ruler of the civilized world...
Yes!
You have opened a can of worms there. What type of government would you put in place? John?
I would put in place pretty much what we have, which is...
Socialism?
A social democracy. Look, you're socialist too, dude. If you're for Social Security, and Medicare, we're all socialists. This argument is about what shade of red we are. That's it. It's like that old joke about, would you sleep with me for $1 million? Sure. No. Would you sleep with me for $1? No, but we've already established what you are.
So you'd be a socialist and we'd live in Cuba. I would put in pretty much a more participatory democracy. So I would basically,
mob rule.
Here's what I would do. This is unconstitutional now, but you would have to vote to be able to vote the next time. You see, if you sat it out one time, then you'd miss a round. So I would say, look, you have a...
Yeah, let's do it like a game of chutes and ladders.
Right. You have an obligation.
If you land on red, you can only vote for congressional elections.
I want the
here's
folks...
how it goes.
I want the folks to be more involved because right now we have 50% of the people know nothing. Jersey Shore people, you know these people, the Colbert watchers.
Natasha from Washington, D.C. is here in the
audience. Not everyone's
audience.
as bright as the Fox viewer, but we do what we can.
Just jealous.
Natasha asked this question. How would you modify the healthcare system if you were president? Bill?
Well, I'd take care of this arthritis epidemic. I don't know where that is. It's wiping us out.
Well, who do you think let's put it this way. In terms of healthcare, do you think everyone should have it?
I think everyone should have access to it. Do I think we should pay for people's health care who are able-bodied? No.
Should we pay for veterans' health care?
Yes.
Should we pay for, because they deserve the best?
They should have what my father had when he came back from World War II, is they should have discounted health care premiums, just like they got discounted mortgages. They should be rewarded for their service.
So they should have the best health care they should have.
Well, the health care...
Is the system that they have now the best they can have? The best that we have to offer in this country?
No. I think the whole health care system has to be reorganized in this country.
In what way?
It has to be basically run by insurance companies, not the government, all right? Listen to me, listen to me. Listen to me. I don't want to have to come down there. You have the private insurance companies, however, they have mandates. They can't throw you off if you're sick. They have to keep basically...
Did you just say mandates?
Yes, mandates. The government has an oversight capacity, doesn't take it over because the government's going to screw it up. They have oversight capacity. And the insurance companies compete nationwide. The lizard can go to all the states. Right now, you can't do that. That drives it down, the cost of health insurance.
It doesn't drive it down. It
Yes,
just makes
it does.
it forces
It's
everybody.
competition.
No, because in Alabama the cost is very different than what is in New York City, and everybody from New York City then gets their insurance in the same way that your credit card rates come from.
You charge
just
what
one
they
state.
want in each state because of the difference in the cost of living. However, you have 10 insurance companies in the market, not 2. That's what's driving it up. Right now, they limit how many insurance companies can sell in your state. And of course you knew that, I'm sure you did, but I'd let everybody compete, which drives
Here's
it
what
down.
I would do with healthcare. I would decouple it from work. I would make sure that employers are not responsible for the healthcare. What that would do is free people up to have more mobility in terms of changing jobs, in terms of not worrying about illness, putting them into bankruptcy, and all those types of situations that we're in now. And the only way to do that is through a single-payer system. And a single-payer system is the only way that will effectively manage health care and keep costs down and make sure that employers, if you free up employers from having to put so many and so much of their money into insuring their employees, you will create an enormous surge
of... But you want the government to run this, all right? So that's where it's going to break down. The government can't. It's not set up to do it.
This gets to a fundamental point. Some people say that the government that governs least governs best. I say the government that governs best governs best. The problem that we have is you look at this situation and you say, government can't do the job. They're not good enough or set up to do that.
All you have to do is go to Canada or Britain and see what they have there. They run it, and you can't get an operation in Canada. They have to come here for it. And in Britain, everybody's teeth have fallen out, all right? I lived in England for a year. I know what the system is. The government can't do it.
No one in those places, though, goes broke because they have a medical condition,
Nobody
because
goes
they're
broke.
covered. So,
They don't get good care.
well, what I'm saying is, do you think America can do it better? Let me put it this way: is government
No,
just,
I don't
is
think they can
government
do it better.
incompetent? Is government
in this
incompetent?
area, yes.
What
You're not
area
set
is
up
it
to-
competent in?
It's competent in the military area.
So why
collecting
can't we,
taxes,
but
they can
it's
do
the
that.
same people. Why is it that you
Not the
trust
same people.
You trust the government to make bombs and invade another country,
No, I don't.
but not
I don't
to
trust
pass
the government
out
to do
cheese.
that.
But do you understand what I'm saying? Why is it that the
Because
government is competent in military but can't handle
You
health
let
care?
medical people run it. You don't let the government run a complicated system. Crazy.
You hire medical people into the system to help run it.
Oh, I see. So you drag them out of their house and say you're going to come in and you're going to run our That's come on. Look, just talk to doctors. They don't want all this Obamacare. It's a mess. It's chaotic. It's not going to be cost efficient. Let the free market run it with very strict
The free market has
oversight.
been running it. 70 million
And it's a
people
mess.
don't have insurance.
That's right.
So the free market has failed us in
No,
this
you can
instance.
have government regulation of it, just don't have them run it.
So, but why are they able? Why is government able to run a complex organization like the military?
Because
Why are
it's
they
tradition. They have hundreds of years of doing it. Well, hold it. Did you miss the Revolutionary War? We have hundreds of years of doing it. Dr. Kildare did not work for the feds, all right? There's no basis for them to run the show. The only thing they can
That may be the
only
silliest
thing they
thing
can
you've
do
said
is
all
put
night.
some-
That
What?
may be the silliest thing you've
What,
said
that
all
there's a
night.
military tradition in America?
No, not that there's a military tradition, that because there's a military tradition, that's
Yeah.
why the government runs an effective
They know
military.
how to do that. They know how to organize that. They don't know the first thing about medical care and how to deliver it. It's insane.
Doctors do, but they know how to organize a bureaucracy and administrate it. I'm not saying they're good at it. I'm saying why not apply the military ethic, the military work ethic, the sense of service, the sense of duty to country to the healthcare system, bring up people that can learn how to do it, and create a system that can work for all Americans and be efficient at doing that. If we can figure out how to do, I was in Afghanistan, to see what they've built in the desert there is phenomenal. If you're telling me they can't set up clinics that can run effectively in this country,
Sure.
that's ridiculous.
You could set up
You're
clinics.
saying that the military
that's
can
doable.
build nations in Iraq and Afghanistan, but they can't do it here. Why can't they take, there are medics in the military. Why not take the medics in the military, bring them into the government, and let them run the healthcare system?
Bring them into the government?
They're already in the government.
Bring them
let
in?
them run it.
I feel like I'm
Let
sitting next
them
to
run it.
Deepak Chopra here. And then we'll have chimes and with chimes everywhere. And then they'll come and heal us. We'll be healed. Come, it's just, look, clinics, fine. They can't
what
run
I said.
Deborah from
Start calling you
Texas
Deepak. Go ahead.
sends this in via the internet. How is it that two personalities such as yourselves, who are almost polar opposites politically, share a willingness to come together when Congress can't? What advice would you give Congress?
Wait. And what would you like for Christmas, little boy? Get off. Thank you.
William from Michigan is here, and he asked this question. I understand voting for Obama the first time. What would justify voting for him this time? John?
I mean, I don't know what to tell you, kid. You know, it's a race between him and Mitt Romney. That would, it's not, you know what? Here's what I would say. Turns out Lincoln ain't running this year. So, you know, I think you got to look at it like, you know, you judge it, but I don't think it's a slam dunk either way. I think for people who say, like, Obama is the worst president in history, which I guess is your program from 9 to 5.
I told you, I'm not an Obama basher.
I don't agree with that either. And I think there have been areas where he's done a very effective job in stabilizing certain things that had really fallen into catastrophic state with that economic crisis that was the worst since the Great Depression. And there are areas where I think he's disappointed people, but, you know, I don't know of a president that hasn't. And it's a choice between Mitt Romney and Barack Obama, and that's how you'll make your judgment.
Leslie from Michigan emails this in. Why don't we reduce or stop foreign aid with our deficit so high? Shouldn't aid to ourselves come first? If the USA becomes totally bankrupt, who would help us? What am I missing?
Well, it's true that under President Obama, foreign aid is almost doubled in 3 years, and most people don't know that, but we are sending a lot. But we have to send money to certain countries to buy them, and we do. We send money and we buy them.
Daddy, can I have Peru?
There's not that. That's not the big problem. Foreign aid. It's a very, very small.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But NPR. That's a problem.
That's symptomatic of it. The taxes that Stewart and I pay pretty much knock the foreign aid thing down. Go ahead.
Jennifer from Maryland writes this. She's in the audience. Who is your political hero and why? John?
Now?
Yeah, right. I would say Robert Kennedy. I think he had a passion and a depth of belief and an optimism and a tenacity that I very much admired. And he was one of the first, when I was very young, one of the first people that I remember learning about. And, you know, maybe his death sort of left an indelible mark. But I felt that Robert Kennedy was a man of political integrity in that regard.
I can't believe he said that.
Why?
Because I'm a big Robert Kennedy fan.
Oh.
I got a book out, Killing Kennedy, and
Oh,
Robert
for God's
Kennedy.
sake.
And Robert Kennedy is prominent in that book. And you see what he just said is true, unfortunately. But what about Fidel? I know you like him.
Yes.
I would say, for me, and I really admire Robert Kennedy, it would be Abraham Lincoln. And I have a book about Abraham. And Abraham Lincoln gave his life for his country. He did. If you look at Abraham Lincoln, a big strapping 6'3" guy, and was chopping that wood. And in 3 years, he's hunched over. He's aged 35 years. He carried the whole thing on his back, kept the Union together. Extraordinary individual. We need an Abraham Lincoln now in this country.
You know what? Here's a question that I think is right. Would an Abraham Lincoln in this day and age be an Abraham Lincoln, or would the tenacity of the 24-hour news cycle find a way to turn him into just some skinny guy with a beard that can't, you know?
In his day, Lincoln was the most hated man in the country. He didn't have the 24/7 drumbeat, but he couldn't go out. They were throwing stuff at him, and I mean, and particularly when the North was not doing well in the war. So it was inside Lincoln, not outside, and we need somebody like that.
John from Minnesota emails in. Years ago, Walter Cronkite was called the most trusted man in America, to which news person, journalist, or reporter would, of course, you two excluded, would you assign that title today?
Got to be Bill Morris, right?
I think, you know, in the same way that market share is divided, I just don't think that is a relevant title in a country that is so niche-oriented when it comes to the way people digest information. I just don't think there's, in the same way that we don't all share the same television experience, there is no most trusted man in America. There's a most trusted man on red sites, a most trusted man on blue sites. There are, and I think that even the idea of exercising editorial authority has been diminished in some ways by your boss, Ailes, who has felt, I think what he's done is sort of created this idea that any exercise of editorial authority is elitist, while I think himself exercising pretty strong editorial authority.
That's not true, because I can do whatever I want. He never interferes with what I say.
You're a different animal.
Well, I was in the beginning. I was in the beginning. The absolute best journalist ever on television is late Mike Wallace. Best, most honest, the guy was unbelievable. So that's where I'm leaving it.
Mike is here in the audience, and he asks this question. If you could see any American elected president, who would you choose, and why?
Well, I'd say Clint Eastwood would have to be my guy.
Well, why don't we ask him? What? Tell them to do what? Dirty Harry.
He's going to shoot you.
I'll be honest with you. I think Bill Clinton would get elected in this country with 70% of the vote right now. I think he would. Either he or Hillary could run right now, and they would be elected with 70% of the vote.
Both of them?
I think they could run it as like a Edie Gourmet, Steve Lawrence
Paul
thing.
and Paul?
I think that's how they could do it.
Kendall and Avery are here in the audience.
Kendall and Avery?
Are here in the audience?
That's my name of my indie band.
What do you think is the most fundamental problem with the public political discourse?
Steward.
Honestly, I think we've lost our ability to problem solve. That we're having the wrong conversation in this country. That the conversation we're having in this country is about a fundamental clash of civilizations, when I think we have basically agreed that we're a social democracy. Like, whether you want to get around it or not, this isn't a conversation between freedom and tyranny and capitalism and socialism. And until we lose that artifice and begin to concentrate on making, I think I want government, I don't want it gone, I want it better. I want it more efficient, I want it accountable, I want it to be able to, bureaucracies have huge problems and they need really smart administrators. And that's what this country and conversation should be about. Not about one part of the country is somehow carrying the flag of freedom and the other part of the country is fundamentally undermining it. I think that's bullshit.
The problem is that by the way, I have no idea what you just said, but the problem with the discourse deal.
You went to Harvard, dude.
Is,
Stop
I know.
playing.
I had the same problem there. What? The problem with the discourse deal is capitalism. That's the problem with it, because
Wait, say it again?
the problem with the discourse situation in America is capitalism. Listen to me and follow closely.
All right.
You can make a lot of money by being an assassin. A lot of money. And you no matter right wing or left wing. All right? You go in and you're a hater, radio, cable, in print, whatever, you can get paid. And there's a people who do that. And they go in, they don't even believe half the stuff they say. And they just rip it up. And they get paid a lot of money. And that is coarsened everything. They're phonies. And capitalism drives that. There are people, Americans, who want to hear hate, and they hate it, they hear it. And that is just blowing it all up. There's no rules on the internet, none. Go listen to these comments. After this program, I'm sure there'll be chat rooms about this. Where do you see the column? Where do you see them? All right? And that, it's not coming back either. It's not going to get any better. But we have to live with it. Freedom of speech.
Scott? Person watching on the internet from Canada, Scott, says, what's wrong with the national sales tax?
I like the national sales tax.
I got no problem with national sales tax.
But I target it to Medicare. That's the way to fix that entitlement. You just say, we're going to pay 2%, 1.5%, and you got to lock it down, though. You can't be, having to slide and scale up. And all of that money is going to Medicare.
Would you means test Social Security?
No, because Social Security is basically, right now, can be fixed in the sense that you have to elevate the age. That's, you just have to. I mean, life expectancy
People
now
are
is
getting
112 in Delaware. So people are living more, okay? And, if you work out like Jane Fonda, you're in good shape and all that. So you raise it, and then if you're wealthy, like Donald Trump and Jon Stewart, you don't really need it, right? So I think we can massage that and get that under control, do the 1.5% or 2% national sales tax, get the Medicare thing under control, and begin to bring down this horrible debt that is going to ruin this country. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
Here's what I would ask you. Would you take away Grover Norquist's pledge to never raise taxes? Because that's purely ideological.
Wasn't he president twice?
But listen, dude's got, a ton of legislators who have signed a pledge not to raise taxes. If the biggest problem we have in this country is the deficit, why is it that
Look, what are you asking me about Grover Norquist for?
Really? He's irrelevant? He doesn't have any...
He's not on my radar screen. I mean, you
Oh,
know.
because he's got a pledge from, like,
No,
most
because he's just a
Republican
guy.
legislators.
Why don't you ask me about Lenny out there selling bagels? He's just a guy. What do I care what he does?
Because he seems to have quite a hold on the Republican congressional delegation.
From Missouri, Tristan emails
Although
in.
Lenny might as well, I don't know. Depends on the sandwiches.
It's good bagels out there.
How can you support a presidential candidate when both sides have been proven to misquote, take things out of context, and sometimes blatantly make things up?
See, Time Magazine's got a great piece this week, a cover story, and they have both campaigns, and they tell you what they said, and it's all BS. So they all do it, unfortunately. What are you going to do? I mean, you know, like he said, you only got those two guys. That's what you got.
What a note of optimism to go out on. Shit pile number one, shit pile number two. What are you going to do?
Michelle from Maryland is in the audience, and she says, would you consider switching jobs for a week?
Oh, you kidding me? I'd have to work in the same building as Colbert? There's no way I'm doing that.
By the way, we don't work in the same building. Like, Comedy Central's not the real world. We don't, like, share a room. But I would love to, you know, I come over and I visit Fox News every now and again, and it's nice because the Eye of Mordor is above the building. And when you come in, it's kind of funny because you go through, and whenever I walk through the building, little heads pop there. You know, it's like sort of like that scene in Indiana Jones when all those kid miners were working. And Indiana came through and they all looked up like, Saeed, you know. But they really have that look in their eyes like, take us with you.
I, for one, though, would really like to see Stewart doing the factor, you know, in the beginning of the program when he goes, caution, you're about to enter the no spin zone. The factor starts right now.
You know why I would say that is the only way I would do it is if somebody kicked me really hard in the nuts. That's why it sound
Kathleen
like that.
from Maryland emails in, what do you respect most about your opponent in this debate?
Ooh, Kathleen, very new age. It's a tough one.
Can y'all come up with something?
I mean, I would say the man coordinates a mean outfit. Khaki. I think that's a beautiful pleat.
Thank you.
I think you wear, I mean, he's a husky man. Listen, I appreciate the fact that, you know, a man built like a Yeti can move so fluidly. I appreciate...
He's fixated on the Yeti thing. It's the
fixated on the
fourth
Yeti
time
thing.
in the last week.
In all seriousness, I feel like Bill comes by his principles honestly. I think he's a smart guy. I think he's a funny guy. He's enjoyable to spar with. This idea that disagreeing with somebody, even vehemently, even to the core of your principle, means that you should not engage them is ridiculous. And I have people in my own family who would make this guy look like Castro. So I don't, and I love them. So I find it sort of odd that people even question, how do you talk to that guy?
I want to jump in here. You know, I admire someone who's been in rehab 6 times and still is as successful as Stewart is.
He's like every guy ever cut off at a bar. I mean, it's the kind of thing.
Stewart tomorrow is going to visit the wounded troops.
Sarah from Massachusetts asks, what's the most valuable thing you've learned from hearing the other person's point of view?
Let me answer that first.
Okay.
Now I know I'm right.
I have learned that Bullshit Mountain is tall.
I knew we were going back there. I knew
Bullshit
that.
Mountain is wide. And it deep.
Wrapping it up, Jason from New Jersey asks, if you had one piece of advice for the youth of America, what would it be?
You don't want to get the seeds. What you want to do is you want to get. It's called the seeds or the swag. So I don't know if they still have LPs, but you open up an LP and you get the shake. And you... Here's what I would say. You know, everybody talks about the entitlement generation. You know, there is no time I would rather live in than now, and there is no generation I would more entrust the future of this country to this one. I've been very impressed with the people that I've met in colleges now. I've been very impressed with young people and their commitment to want to do anything. And there's a tendency to live in a nostalgic state in this country and think that other generations possessed an integrity and a tenacity greater than the generation that is now. And I wholeheartedly disagree with that. And I believe that this is a group that will rise up to any challenge that comes before them, as well as any other generation in America would have done. So my advice to them would be, please don't think of me as an entitled moocher when I'm collecting my government benefits.
Bill.
All right. Young pinheads. Work hard, be honest, get off the net, go outside, travel as much as you can, find your passion. Everybody's good at somebody. Everybody's good at something. Find what you're good at. Everybody. That's why I believe in God. Everybody has a talent. Find what you're good at and make money doing it.
So, usually at the end of these debates, and I'm sure it'll happen on the internet, you know, a winner is picked, a loser is picked, but I think everybody wins this time.
Everybody wins.
Everybody wins in this one. And
wait. How about a nice hand for Edie Hill for putting up with us?
And
better than Jim Lehrer.
we have a parting gift.
Wow. Look at this.
For the winners.
Very good. Thank you for coming out, everyone. Thank you for coming out to see us. Thanks a lot. A lot of fun.